Hey, what's up? This is Austin, and welcome to the Mendo Metal Podcast. This is going to be Ep.5, and today we're meeting with a very special guest, somebody I respect highly. This guy is a killer musician, and has more or less, without his knowing, he's probably been a mentor to me on several occasions. But yeah, welcome, Nate from Ontogeny. How you doing, brother?
Good, man. Thank you for that, man. I appreciate that. Embryonic environment's a staple in the Cali death scene, man. So hell yeah, glad to be here.
Right on, man. Well, you've been at this for quite a long time. I was first turned on to your music when I first heard Soul Asunder, and I was instantly, intrigued. Back then, at that time, I was getting into the more melodic side of metal, starting with the brutal death, but then kind of branching out and just seeing that metal could also be kind of beautiful too. And through that search, I found Soul Asunder. Oh, actually, before Soul Asunder, there was another band that you and one of the guys from Soul Asunder were doing. What was the name of that group?
Let's see. There was a band that's Chaz was in with my brother called Driven.
Yeah. Okay.
And Driven was what I always like envisioned joining Driven one day. It was like the most inspiring shit to me as a little kid was learning those songs that my brother and his friends made. Like, wow, these are people I know, and they made an album that's so cool. So I learned all the songs, but I was way too young to join that. And then Chaz and the guitar player Brian for Driven separated and started Soul Asunder. And I didn't join Soul Asunder until years later. I learned all their songs on drums actually when I was like 13 years old, before they had Keith on drums. And I called Chaz like, hey man, I learned all of your songs on drums. He's like, yeah, but you're 13, so so we can't get you into bars and all that stuff, and it's gonna be a hassle to get around. So I never got to even try out, but it worked out because I think when I was about 15 or 16 is when I joined Soul Asunder, so only a few years
Okay.
later. But on
So,
tape, I joined it.
yeah, when I first met Chaz, actually, talking about Chaz, he was doing a band. I think the name I was thinking of was a band called Minion.
Oh yeah, Minion was Soul Asunder. It was Brian and Chaz started Minion, which
Gotcha.
which became Soul Asunder. That was like before Keith and Micah were in it. It was
Okay.
it was some of the songs carried over to the first Soul Asunder album from Minion. But
Totally.
I was not in Minion though. I just
Okay.
huge Minion fan though. Those were the songs that I learned, the Minion songs, and
Me
those
too, man. I was a huge Minion fan too. I met him at the Pound SF back in the day, and he handed me a Minion CD, and so I listened to it all the way home. I have about 3.5 hours to drive on the way home. So I just popped it in the CD player and listened to it, probably 3 or 4 times in a row, and really fucking dug it, man. And you can definitely hear the similarity, the similarity between Minion and Soul Asunder. The transition. It seemed like a natural fit.
I mean, it was Chaz and Brian wrote all that stuff together, and then Chaz was, he was a main writer in that in Soul Center, and so was Brian too. They carried on over, and then I started writing for Soul Thunder on the album Mechanize is when my songs started actually entering, and that's when I was on guitar, and that's when we did the tour with you guys, the Grind Your Mind tour. I got it right there on the wall.
Oh, hell yeah.
So I toured with Soul Asunder on guitar when Brian left. It worked out to just move to guitar because I'm not a bass player anyway. I literally joined that band on bass because I love the music so much, and I just wanted to play with Chaz and Brian and Keith. Really, just the songs were so cool. I had to be a part of it, even if it was only bass. So moving to guitar was really cool to because I'm a guitar player. I want to play guitar more than bass for sure. So
Yeah.
I got some songs on Mechanize, and that was a really fun album to work on. And after that, we didn't do another one, but I still love the material from Soul Thunder.
Oh yeah, it was a pleasure to watch you guys perform each night, because out of the whole tour, I think you guys were the band that had your shit together the most. It seemed like, I mean, the rest of us were kind of, we're very just grinded out, brutal type stuff, and you guys were really just like the album title, just mechanical with it. I mean, you guys had, I mean, Keith had it down to the fill,
Yeah.
whereas my drummer, he may improvise a different fill each time or something like that. But Keith, he's got it down to just a razor sharp edge, man. It's just really cool to watch.
Yeah, we definitely Chaz and Keith really got me focused on being a really tight player, and work with all the musicians I've worked with really have just made me step up my game for sure. And chat working with Chaz and Keith has just been like fun all the time because they keep you on your toes as far as being solid for sure. So I definitely wanted to learn from them in that band. That's why I joined on bass. Like I was saying, it was just I needed to pick their brains and see what's going on with this stuff because I'm not that good, you know. So it was great to play with them. And Keith is just so inspiring to play with to this day. I still I can't imagine my music without him. In fact, he
Yeah,
makes my music. In fact, so
totally, dude. And you've had such a big influence on a lot of our players out here in Mendocino County where we're living too. Like we have Sam Lanyon, who I just did a podcast with Ep.5, and he's just completely influenced by a lot of the stuff that you kind of opened his mind to, and
dude, Sam is an
uh,
amazing player. He's so good, and I watched that episode and hearing him say that I had to email him and say, hey man, dude, thank you first off because I mean it's humbling. He's an amazing guitar player. Uh, to be saying that it's just a huge honor. But yeah, that he's a hidden gem of California as far as I'm concerned. That guy's material is just ripping, and he's hopefully going to continue making more and more and more of it because I want to hear it. So Sam,
yeah.
keep making material if you hear this.
Hell yeah, man.
Yeah,
So how did you let's take it back to the beginning and stuff. Like, how did you first get into music, and were your parents into music at all, or what kind of like influences were impressed upon you, as a kid?
yeah. Well, my dad played guitar. He was like a folk guitar player, so I always grew up around music in his station wagon, blasting the Beatles and things like that. He was very much into like Crosby, Stills, Nash Young, the Beatles,
Nice.
Steely Dan, and things like that. And he was a great singer, and he had an acoustic ovation that I still play now. And yeah, I'd watch him play all the time. And then I got introduced to metal pretty early from my brother. He started listening to Metallica, and I heard the song One, and it was a perfect transition from the Beatles and that to metal because it had the clean guitar parts, whatnot, and then mixed with just the distortion and the drums. And I was instantly like, oh man, I got to figure out what's going on with this metal music. And
Yeah.
looking up my brother too was huge, just being 8 years older than me, and he's the cool guy that I know. He's the one I want to be as far as coolness. So following in his footsteps, he started showing me Sepultura and Pantera and those type of bands. Corn, I was big into for those early years, and it wasn't for a while until I heard like Cannibal Corpse, and I think the first death metal I heard would be Cannibal Corpse and Opeth. Those bands really made me go, oh man! It's actually I found the death metal section at Amoeba Records. That's what it was.
Nice.
I had no, I mean, before I would go to Tower Records and you'd have to know the name of the band. And I was too young to go to shows when I was into it. My brother would go to shows and stuff and find stuff. And I just couldn't do that. So I was too young. So I'd look in liner notes and try to find the bands at Tower Records, and they didn't have shit all the time. So once I discovered Amoeba, like, oh my God, there's a whole section for death metal. That's when I just start buying things because the cover looked cool, or the record label. I'd see, oh, Nuclear Blast, they have Meshuggah on there, they're gonna be good. So, yeah, music was fun to buy CDs and find stuff in those days, and just getting inspired. Everything was so new, so everything was inspiring. I just trying to
Yep.
keep up, and going to shows was later for me. I guess I went to my first show when I was in seventh grade. It was In Flames and Nevermore and Shadows Fall at the I Music Cast in Oakland. I don't think
I
it's
remember that spot. Yeah.
yeah, and that I was 12 years old. My dad took me. It was like on my birthday, or a few days within it. I remember just sitting side stage and first time going to a show and just smelling weed everywhere and just being like, oh my god, this is crazy shit. I stood right next to the speaker on the right side of the stage, so I was literally deaf the next day for sure. But I got to see In Flames on their Clayman tour, and it was just so cool. That age, and then I saw my next show was Opeth on their first U.S. tour, Blackwater Park at the Pound.
Oh, I think I was there.
Yeah, it was
Yep.
Opeth. And Nevermore played that show as well. It was
Yep.
Nevermore and Mudslinger was the opener with Juan Ortega on vocals. I remember seeing Mudslinger and saying that singer sounds just like the guy from Vile, and it happened to be the singer from
Oh, wow.
yeah. But Opeth was huge. They had the folk guitar that I grew up with.
Yep.
They had the singing and growling at the same time. They were brutal and beautiful all at the same time. Those Still Life is top 10 for me.
It seems like every album they put out is just, it's breathtaking, man. I mean, they put out one recently where like I think they recorded it at Abbey Road Studios.
Oh shit.
Same place as the Beatles, you know what I mean? It just, the sound on it is just, it's phenomenal. And the ideas that they come up with, and just, yeah, it comes back to that whole, like, metal can be beautiful thing.
They had the catchiness too. I think that they had hooks. They were dark as fuck too, and that's
Yep.
what was cool. Like In Flames is melodic. I didn't get the same. They didn't have that dark vibe though. In Flames is very jumpy and exciting and cool melodic, or like Iron Maiden-y type melodic to me. That's how I associate it. Then Opeth's chords, I literally to this day call them Opeth chords because I hear them and I go, that's Opeth right there.
Yeah.
They're one of the few bands that does that vibe in those chords. And yeah, Mikhail is the man. I love that shit.
Yeah. I mean, they can evoke like just this bleak depression type sound too sometimes, where it's just like you feel it like in your gut, just a really cool sound that they have.
Yeah, they take you places. Music that takes you places. That's what I want to hear. It's like a painting. As soon as you put it on, you're in that music. You're in that vibe.
Totally. Yeah. There's a band I heard recently that I really liked. It's kind of been doing that for me. It's a band called Direwolf. I don't know if you've heard them.
I've heard the name before. I haven't heard them.
But dude, it's incredible shit. It's I think it might be one of the guys, the guitar player from Behold the Octopus.
Oh shit. Okay. The guitar player or the bass player?
It's one of the guys is the rumor that I think it's what I heard at least. But yeah, they're called Direwolf. Check them out if you get a chance, man. Pretty awesome shit.
Maybe that's how I've heard it because Colin Marston is the man. He's in Behold the Octopus. He's in Gorguts. He's in Drikathir, Krallis. He has a lot of projects that are all pretty sick. So
totally.
Colin Marston out if you haven't heard any of his projects too.
So after you went to those shows and stuff, what age were you about then?
That was like 12, 13 around.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, I've been like playing music since I was 7. So
wow.
I didn't play with people for a very long time though, because no one I knew liked metal other than my brother, and my brother was already in that band, Driven, and I was too young. And I think at my brother's age, he was like, I want to hang out with my age group and do some things that you shouldn't see for a 7-year-old to see. So that's basically what it was. I was getting metal through him at home. I'd watch him play and be like, oh, well, yeah, I'm learning some cool chops from him. And I just
is that the brother that I recently met at the last show?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Right on, dude. Nice.
Yeah, he was a great guitar player too, and he wrote some great music. He came up with the name Ontogeny. He was the original Ontogeny guitar player, technically. Before we had a name, really, it was me and him writing songs. He introduced me to Max in a way. He was kind of like in the friend group of Chaz, Brian, Max, and all of them. So he introduced me to all these players. So my
Wow.
brother's kind of the link to everybody in this group too.
Wow. Amazing.
Yeah, and I wish he still played, but he doesn't play anymore. But he holds the legacy of giving it to me at this point. But yeah, he showed me all that stuff when I was that age, and I didn't get to playing in Soul Center on bass until I was like 15. And that came through oh wait, I was playing with Max and Tim in Anomalous at that time as well. When I was 15, I joined Anomalous before I joined Soul Center.
Wow. Was it still super crazy material?
Oh, it was Cognitive Dissonance, that album.
Wow.
That's what they didn't record it yet. I'm on that album. I recorded on that album as well, and
Wow.
play bass on that album.
To be learning that stuff at age 15, man, that must have been a mind bender.
Well, yeah. I mean, seeing Max for the first time just was. I saw him playing in a basement, and my brother introduced me to him, and I was like, "You've known this guy for this many years, and I've never seen him play guitar." I was like mad, like, why he showed me this guy, because holy shit, he's amazing. He was almost just as good then as he is now. I mean, he's amazing, and he had flavor. And I met him first, and I started learning the material right away. As soon as I saw him play, I wanted to learn those riffs because they were just so sick. And I learned. I spent so long just hammering down the riffs. I think I learned the first song in 2 days or a day and a half or something. And their songs are like a million riffs. So like
Yeah.
one song was like, man, that was a lot of riffs to go over, and the timings and all the changes. And I went to jam with Tim and Max the next day, and I saw the dynamic of Tim and Max, the way they work together. And Tim was just so solid at guitar with him, and he really drives the theme of Anomalous in a lot of ways. So I saw that dynamic, and I saw how they work together, and it's a very like collaborative and destructive process in a lot of ways. And I started working with them, and we recorded Cognitive Dissonance. Soul Center needed a bass player. They saw me playing with them, and they were rehearsing at the Anomalous house. So I joined to play shows for Soul Center. So that was the chronology there. Bass.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And yeah, Ontogeny was always being played by me in the background of all this too. So at that time, I already wrote Pillars of Perversion, and I recorded it as well with programmed drums. And I didn't get to get vocals on it until I met Micah in Soul Center, and then Micah recorded the vocals for Pillars of Perversion, the first album.
So how did Micah come into play? Did Chaz must have met him first, and he was already in Soul Asunder when you joined, or?
Yeah, he was already playing shows with Soul Asunder. I don't know how they met him. I think they knew him from the Monterey metal scene, and Chaz lived in Monterey, and he was in Legion Victorious, this death metal band down there. And but I met him through Soul Center. That's the first time I met him, and he was literally the only guy I ever met that I knew that I could growl, because I knew a bunch of little children that their voices didn't change yet. So I was like, oh my god, this guy has a deep voice. And then so I got him to do the growls on my album, and he recorded it in like 2 days. I'd like give him the line right before he'd record it, and he would just scream it out, and that's how Pillars came to be.
Wow, that's cool, man.
Yeah,
I've always thought he was a great singer. He always had a good performance dynamic. Whenever I saw him, and I mean, he went on to play in Origin there for a while. So I mean, that says it right there. I mean, he had it.
Yeah, Micah was the shit, and still is the shit.
Yep.
Great vocalist, great stage frontman, great person too, and he played with the Faceless as well.
Wow.
Did a tour with him anyway, and did the Origin thing, and got to do some better tours than we would take him on. That's for sure. Yeah. So shout out to Micah.
Hell yeah, Micah, you rock, dude.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
nice.
That was the first. That was all 3 albums at the same time: the Soul Center, Anomalous, and the first Ontogeny album.
Oh, wow. So Ontogeny, how did that come about as far as was that something you and Keith had discussed forming or something like that within Solus Under, or?
Oh no, so like I said, I was playing bass in all these bands, and I'm not a bass player. So I play guitar. So I was writing guitar music the whole time in the background with programmed drums. And Killers doesn't have Keith on it. It's programmed drums, me and Micah. That's the only people on that album. And it wasn't till I got to play live with Keith a lot and just see like how cool it was to play with him and how fun it was and how much he made me want to change how I play and change my riffs and change my style a lot. And it completely it made the second album different because I wrote the second album or a lot of it before I was going to have Keith in the band. And I remember just saying, I'll never find a drummer that can do this stuff. I think now you can probably find it a lot easier. Back then it was way harder to find drummers who can do the 250 kick, do the
Oh man, yeah.
The 250 kick was like you'd either get that and then they couldn't do the Meshuggah parts, or they could do the Meshuggah parts and not the 250 kick, which is kind of what Keith was. But Keith brings this just jazz dynamic that is so fun to play with. So I thought about it to saying, well, instead of the 250 kick, let's just have Keith do 16th notes on all his hands on his drums line. I started thinking of like Sepultura, like, well, Igor Cavalera would do like Tom stuff, he'd do like,
yep.
So that's all our beats on that second album. Whenever you hear like a Tom thing, Keith developed this beat to where he can have a pulsing cymbal and be on the toms doing 16th notes.
Wow.
That became our 250 kick, like death metal, like, oh, it sounds completely different. It doesn't sound like kick, it sounds like Keith playing death metal. So I just decided this is what the project should be, and from there on out I can't imagine the riffs without Keith. So that was our second album.
Yeah, he's an amazing drummer, man. And when we played with you guys recently, I was just really blown away by how small his kit was and such a large sound coming out of it. I just couldn't believe what I was hearing, man. It's like he just as far as what you guys were using as a drum kit, it was very, very minimal, but he just, like you said, he has that jazz technique, man. And he just really pulls everything out of it. It's incredible.
Our drum set now is actually intentionally small at this point because we don't need a trailer if we ever go on the road. We can fit all of us and the gear in an SUV with no problem at all, because the bass drum is 16 inches. It's smaller than a floor tom of a regular drum set, and it's a 3-piece kit. So we can ride in style now.
That's insane, man. I love that.
Yeah, we call it the Vegas kit because we were going to play the Las Vegas Death Fest, and it was like a 5-day tour or something. And I was like, man, we can rent a trailer for like $500, or I could buy that mini kit right now for $230. So we bought the mini kit, and it's actually like a joke now at every show. Everyone goes up to Keith like, that's your fucking drum set? Like that. We got it at Toys R Us down the street, man. But
yeah, I was up on stage with the sound guy, and he kind of made a comment like, it's like, wow, those drum sets just keep getting smaller and smaller.
Yeah, and so did my gear too. Now with like the new stuff they got, I've downsized all my gear as well. I play through like 2x12 instead of the 4x12s that I had before.
And it sounds great. I mean, dude, you guys were nice and crispy and brutal and fucking like couldn't, there was no complaint at all, man. Just sounded awesome.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. You guys sounded great too on that show. Your new material is sick, dude.
Thanks, bro. Appreciate that, man.
I listened to it the other day. It sounds great too. You guys went to Trident. It sounds good.
Yeah, we needed somebody to pull that out of us, and Juan, he's really like, okay, do it again. And then, just when I think I have it, he's like, now play it like a man. It's like, he's really just pushes me to my limit. And I think I kind of needed that, man. Cause I was just, sometimes I'm not in my head, and he really has a way of pulling that out of me. So.
Nice, and your new guitar player Donnie is a ripper too, man. I mean, because last time I saw you, it was just you and Luke. It was in Middletown, up north, and it was cool seeing you now with the new guitar player too. It's sounds great, man.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, the thing with me and Luke, that was fun, but ultimately, we knew we needed to have more people to make the band happen. We weren't willing to throw in the towel. We're like, fuck that, we're not canceling any shows. We're gonna fucking continue on until we find people, and that's what we did. We even did a whole entire internal bleeding tour, just me and Luke. Just
Wow.
like, fuck it, let's go and do this. We're not gonna die. And
And here you are still, man. Hell yeah.
hell yeah, dude. And yeah, I'm actually I'm working with another guitar player as well, so we might have two guitar players here pretty soon.
Oh shit. There we go. Nice.
Yeah.
Well, hit us up for shows if you ever want to get the warm up shows out before you tour the world and shit.
Definitely, man.
Yeah.
Fucking awesome. So coming back to Ontogeny, like I mean, as a vocalist, like I'm always interested in like what kind of like lyrical concepts there are and stuff like that. And I know that you're doing a lot of the vocals now, correct?
Yeah, I do all the vocals now. I started doing the vocals on Antisocial Media, which was our last album.
So yeah, what are the themes about? Like what are you going for? And like is there a message or anything like that? Or
I guess, yeah. I mean, I've always let the vocalists who are doing the screaming write their parts for the most part.
that's
I,
cool.
I'm very much like a rhythm based person. Like I get the words. I'm like, okay, let's make it cool rhythmically, or uh, I work with that side of it. So like Chaz wrote the vocals on Discord and Disillusion, and he did the vocals for that. And Chaz writes. He's very specific on how he writes. He's very like fast rhythms and weird shit, and really cool, unique parts. And he has a cool like yell scream. And then moving to the next album, we had Tim from Anomalous on uh, what's our fucking album called? Oh god damn it! I forget what it's called. Yeah, Hymns of Armon. There it goes. So
Nice.
Tim wrote all the vocals for that because he was doing the screaming on it. I figured you should write it. And then coming to the next album, Tim left after that, so I kind of just said, I can do the screaming. I kind of wanted to mix those two styles of what Chaz has done and what Tim has done. Tim is a very he's the angry screamer. He's yelling his balls off, and there's more just less of the fast rhythms and more of the just pissed off. I'm screaming my face off. So I wanted to mix those two together on the next one. So I kind of had that in mind for the rhythmic concepts, and I think the vocals came just from becoming an old musician nowadays, and just seeing the scene and all that now change, and seeing players change, and just be feeling my work life and all that stuff, and seeing how much social media plays into music now, and how I'm an old man with that, and I don't even know how to react to that, and just kind of all that, and having fun too. A lot of comedy in that as well, because I'm able to look at my relationship with social media, say, and see that I'm saying I'm making fun of this, but at the same time I'm a part of it. I'm going to be promoting this album on that platform. I'm going to be releasing on there, so it's very self aware that I'm full of shit too. So it was kind of that. It was a catharsis, I would say, is a good way to put that album's concept.
That's cool, man. Sometimes it's good to you know put some of those real elements into a release, something that people can identify with. I mean, because whether we like it or not, all of us are pretty much connected and sucked into this shit in one way or another, and into the social media thing.
Yeah, and it's all what you make it, right? I mean, and that's kind of what that album was too. Was what is your relationship with it? It was exploring the different ideas of it. Are you doing it to stay connected with people? Like that album, there's a song in there that I titled Transcontinental Webcam Jam, and that was because it was musicians from all over. I had Chaz record piano parts in Florida. I had I had Sam Lanyon recording his parts in Willits. It was just a collaboration from all over the United States. So I felt like Well, that's an example of good use of social media. I wouldn't know any of these players. I wouldn't know how to get these parts from them. So that was positive from it. But at the same time, if you're using that as your identity, if you're just using it to promote a version of yourself that isn't yourself, it can lead to depressing stuff. If you're looking at what other people do as reality on social media without exploring your real life, then that's an example of a bad part of it. So it really is the both sides of things, of both sides of myself too, and all that. It's while being funny though. I'm very inspired by like Tim and Eric and Mr. Show and things that are just they're and David Lynch is very funny to me too. So it's things that are absurd that I can get humor out of that can still be dark at the same time.
That's cool, man. I dig it.
Yeah, I just watched a Zappa documentary. His humor and his stuff is hilarious too.
Oh yeah, I love the I don't know if you've ever seen, it was a movie he made called 200 Motels, but that one, I mean, dude, talk about crazy, man. It's one of the most trippy movies I've ever seen in my life. It's called 200 Motels by Frank Zappa, if you ever get a chance to check that out.
I saw it in the documentary. I haven't seen the movie, but the documentary made me want to see the movie. I've seen Baby Snakes, which is
Yep.
a claymation movie that he did, and the guy has like a billion songs. He's been making music since 1956, so he has an insane arsenal of crazy music. So I'm
And
gonna
I
see.
heard he never did drugs either.
Yeah, he did not, and he actually said drugs were a reason for a lot of the problems in society of the world today. So crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he writes
Yeah.
it.
I mean, he's partially right. I mean, it's just, it's kind of my viewpoint, and some people may disagree or whatever, but I mean, it seems like, with the whole like legalizing marijuana, across the board, recreationally and all that, you know, a lot of the people, including myself, are like, awesome, fuck yeah, that's killer. We can go to a store and buy weed and get high. But at the same time, it's like that whole like dumbing down of the masses, yeah, let them have their beer, let them have their weed, dumb down, keep them on their toothpaste and all the chemicals within that. And, it's just like a dumb down of society. And as long as they can keep us, docile and stoned, we
Well,
we won't care as much.
I would say, to be fair, we're keeping ourselves that, if anything, I mean, like
Yeah.
just because things are available, I don't think that people are forcing anything. I think if anything, with especially with the legalization of weed, there's the whole people have been thrown in jail for their entire lives for that shit.
Yeah.
Whether
Mhm.
that's dumbing them down or not, that's fucked up.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay, if that's dumbing it, I would say there's definitely things that dumb people down worse than that. But drugs are bad. Okay, you know, there's a yeah. Again, any it's your relationship with anything. I suppose people
Totally.
people can safely smoke marijuana and
I've
be
always had a problem with it, man. I've got issues.
some people, there's rocket scientists out there that probably are chiefing up right now, and their
That's
brain
true. That's
functions
true.
differently, but definitely probably not the whole scale version of the thing. But you know, beer and all that. I'm not a big drinker, and I think that I would feel the effects of that way worse for sure.
What are your what's your current take on what's happening in the world right now, just as a whole? I mean, like with everything going on. I mean, threat of war, fucking climate, just all kinds of shit. What do you think about all this stuff, man?
Honestly, I accept how unresearched I am in so much stuff. That's the I as far as world politics go, I'm one of those people that don't do enough research to be able to say much about it. I don't know both sides of a situation, but I will say I always will feel for people saying they're being oppressed or something like that. So in terms of Russia, Ukraine, or if that's what you're speaking of, it sounds like what it sounds awful. War is terrible. I can never. feel good about people dying in the world. That doesn't ever sit well with me, but I don't know how to do anything. I accept my stupidity in situations and my ignorance. Like climate change, I can speak on climate change, I guess, because I'm tied to that industry. Energy consumption's huge. California, I guess, is one of the best states for starting to look into, hey, how much energy are we using, and trying to stop that. So like they're controlling things in construction to try to mitigate energy use. So that's going to be huge because we are destroying the world. That you don't need to do too much research to see that, you know, that we're destroying the world. The things
Yeah.
that the human race does destroy the world, and that's tied to, capitalism highly as well. But I again, that's another issue that I didn't do enough research on to even have that too. I very much accept that there's things that I did very specific research in that if you ask me about them, I'll talk your ear off. You want to talk some death metal and some shit like that all day, but as soon as we get into specifics of politics, I can't do it as well.
Well, I mean, as far as what you're doing, I mean, you're making music, man, and that's, that's the ultimate thing that will, it's a deviation from all those things, man. Music is like the universal language, so it's like you doing that is like almost combat's war, it's like the pure outlet, is music really. And if more people just gravitated towards that,
I mean, I wish I could say from my standpoint it was grandiose like that, but I think I'm just kind of lazy. I wish I was smarter to do more research. I feel like I should, but at the same token, the level of research I feel that is fair to do in these situations is not something I have time to do. I think to accurately research a complex issue such as like geopolitics and be able to make statements about it, I don't want to, I don't want to do that because I didn't put the hours in. I could read headlines online and regurgitate something that was like, hey, that looks like I disagree with it, but I have no idea what's going on with it. I can
totally.
I think that might be a problem that I see in people is people go with the immediate reactions of what they see in headlines without even reading an article, researching where the article came from, and realizing that before these fast news articles and streaming media, people wrote books that took years of research to write, and referencing had to be done in those. So references matter in that sort of stuff. I take that to heart as somebody who researches, like I said, my specific industries. So I try to, stay out of things I don't know about.
Totally, dude. That's wise, man. That's wise. And I appreciate that take on it, yeah, I always like to get, viewpoints from musicians that don't have anything to do with music sometimes, just to, I don't know, pick your mind a little bit. And so, yeah, I appreciate that, man. That's definitely a smart way to go about anything, is to do the research, put the time in, and
Yeah, I know.
just like you did with those guitars, man. Just sounds awesome.
Right on, and that's what I'm saying. Like I definitely, there's things that I can speak about that I know, and there's definitely political issues that I can speak about, but they're very much tied to my experiences that have affected me personally. It's a very selfish way to look, I know, but that is the fact of my research, unfortunately. But
Totally.
I definitely feel for suffering of people. I'm a very empathetic person. So like I said, anytime there's world suffering, I feel for that, for sure.
Totally, man. Well, you've definitely made an impression with your music. I've seen pictures with Alex Webster wearing Ontogeny logo shirts and shit. And I mean, that's as big as death metal gets right there, man. So, for all the viewers and listeners at home, definitely check out Ontogeny. I mean, these guys are the shit, and yeah, they deserve the attention. Is there anything coming up as far as shows for you guys, or future stuff people should know about? Or
me and Keith are writing new material right now. I'm writing this album completely different than I've ever written. It's kind of actually back to when I was 7 years old, writing without a drummer in a way, in that I'm not programming anything. I don't have a grid in front of me as I play. I'm not recording any riffs with any device. I'm relying solely on being able to remember my riffs. And the way
Wow.
and the way that I play is, it's kind of separated now because I work a lot. I work a lot of heavy hours. So my practice time is separated by days. So now the riffs are harder to remember. So I figure if I remembered that riff, that means that something was special enough in that riff to keep playing it. So it's good enough to make the album. So that's what I've been doing, is riffs that stick over time are making the material. And then I've been writing it or bringing it together with Keith in the rehearsal room and working it out with him. And then we're going to see how it works out on a grid after that, and play it exactly how we recorded it. We're also going to do we're exploring the idea of doing complete production changes riff to riff and in the middle of a riff, and that would include drum set complete production changes. So we're basically going to have to record the album 7 times on drums all the way through and start mixing the sounds together to
Wow.
make it sound like it's pieced together, kind of like a hip hop album in a way, where they bring samples from other stuff that are mixing through. It's going to be that, but it's us playing our riffs just with different recordings, pretty much. That's the
That is awesome. That's a really cool idea, man. I can't wait to hear that. That is so cool.
It's a theory right now that's in my head. Like, I hear it in my head and I want to see it come through. And I'm writing parts around that to have, the guitars change.
So there might be a section that sounds possibly like a garage recording, and then the next section that comes in is like the big studio sound or something like that.
Yeah, and it will be in the middle of the riff too, like a riff that will be playing. Half of those riffs will be different productions, so it'll be jumping.
Oh,
And kind of,
wow.
it's going to create a jarringness in that, because part of our music, there's parts that are jarring, and I wanted to make those more extreme, and kind of give an uncomfortability to some of those parts. So that would be changing in the middle of the riff, where, like, what the fuck is going on with this studio? This guy sucks. So I think,
That's genius, man. I love that. Is there anything like, I mean, because you mentioned working like hard hours and stuff, and I put in some hours too at work. Is there any kind of like certain first thing that you practice when you get on guitar, or like people who work a heavy work schedule? Is there certain things that we can do in a short amount of time to be able to stay limber on the strings?
I think all of my practice my entire life has been in an end goal to make music and make songs. I've never really been the type to practice chops. Honestly, I push myself to write better songs. Like, I'll write harder parts and things that I can't play yet, just to be like, well, I'm going to practice that until I can play it, and it forces me to practice a riff that's going to be in a song. I never have ever sat down and practiced scales or things like that, really. So I've always wanted to write music and play music, and make songs. So my advice, and what has worked for me and what still continues to work right now, is just keep it fun. Have fun playing music. If you don't have fun doing this, you're gonna stop, because money is gonna be rough if you're trying to make money. If you're going for like fame, that's gonna be a rough road in this type of music. Have
Yeah.
fun. Play guitar with your friends. Meet musicians that are inspiring. Get inspired. Play music that you see as fun, and that's my advice. I try
I
to.
I learned a Neil Young song recently, Old Man.
Oh yeah,
And I'm having like so much fun playing that. And as I'm playing it, I'm sometimes thinking to myself, man, I need to be keeping my chops up. This isn't going to cut it. But it's like, that's the stuff I'm enjoying right now for some weird reason. I don't know what it is, man, but
I most of what I play is really stupid. I sit here. I just have, like I said, I have fun. I start playing dumb riffs, and I just, that's fun to play. I like the way this feels to play. It's just fun, or I'll just put something on and jam to it, I don't think I feel the need to be productive as much anymore. I think definitely when I was younger, pushing towards a goal and maybe hitting the road and doing that. The idea of hitting the road is so much harder now. I can only do it here and there, and I still want to do it when I can, but it's a battle, right, with the work and with all that. Coordinating adults now that are in their 30s to get through and meet together to rehearse, it's all difficult. So
It is, man.
you're keeping it fun for everybody. I try to just touch base with who I play with Keith and with Kenji, and just make sure like, hey, you guys are still having fun though, right? Like that's what this is about. Like we're
Yeah,
I enjoy playing with Keith. That's and Kenji. I have fun when I play with those guys. I have fun making music, writing it and playing it. That's what is going to keep me doing it. If I felt like it was a job or this is just not fun, I wouldn't do it anymore for sure.
totally, man. Well, it's been an honor chatting with you, Nate. Is there a spot people can go to download your tracks or buy your music or anything like that people should know about?
I mean, you go to ontogeny.bandcamp.com. We're on there. I got to get on other stuff, to be honest. I don't think we have an Instagram. We should work that stuff out. We're terrible at promotion. I'm very good at the having fun with my friends part, Austin.
Hell yeah.
It's the rest of it that I'm terrible at. But yeah, ontogeny.bandcamp.com has all of our material. It's all free. You can listen to it. YouTube has our music videos. Kenji shot our music videos. They're concepts that we all talked about and have fun. So we make our own content and videos, and we make our albums. We record our own albums. We made our album cover. We try to keep it all in house in this band here. So
that's killer. I love it.
Watch the videos, listen to the music, and hit us up if you like it.
Hell yeah. Well, cheers, bro, and keep doing it. And thanks again for coming on the show, bro. And I guess we'll wrap this episode up. Everybody check out Nate and his band Ontogeny.